welcome to a brand new episode of AutoSave. My name is Nick Andrade, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, my very ever awesome co-host, Camille Salazar-Hathaway. And on this episode, we continue through the story of Spider-Man 2. Cam, are you ready for some more thwipping action?
Oh, I have my thwips out. I'm ready to swing. I'm also hopped up on a lot of sugar.
How much sugar?
Too much.
What did you eat/drink?
Just a lot of, chocolates.
Yeah.
Candies.
Like Halloween candies?
Yeah, all leftover. I had one kid come by my house. One kid. I bought 3 boxes of chocolate.
Is it
and 2 bags of candy.
Not a fun neighborhood?
I guess not. They're afraid of my flits over here. Anyways.
Did you have like lights on and?
Oh yeah, I had
pumpkins?
lights on. I decorated outside, even my door.
Damn. Were you sad?
I was just sad that I invested so much money into my candy. Now I have to finish it, and I'm realizing like I'm really feeling my millennial hit, like me as a millennium, because it's just like I realize candy is really sweet, like really sweet.
So you don't like,
but
candy.
I am determined to finish it all.
You better finish it all.
I will. I'm a millennial who will finish all the candy. Your usual Kit Kats, your Arrows.
Oh,
that mix of things.
Maybe one question of the day eventually will be, what's your favorite chocolate bar/candy?
Caramel.
But I feel like, what?
Caramel bar. It's the best one.
Oh my God. I didn't know you were 87.
What? I feel offended. I was also going to say Weathers is up there, but now I'm
Wait,
offended.
what's Weathers?
Isn't it the Weathers? You know, the little caramels?
Oh,
that are
the Werthers.
Or are they Werthers?
The Weathers original.
The Weathers.
Oh my God.
Well, there we go. I ruined candy.
Well, if Werther's wants to sponsor us,
I'll
will
get
the
it right.
name
I promise.
Eventually.
Yeah. I now know.
Let's pivot here. Back to Spider-Man 2. All I remember from Miles Morales is you always thwipping. So hopefully in this episode we get some more thwipping, because on last week's episode a lot went down. It was the Sandman extravaganza.
We good? We're good.
I have sand everywhere.
Marco, it's gonna be okay.
I haven't been okay for a long time.
If you need help, all you have to do is ask.
You're the ones who are gonna need help when they come for you.
Come for us.
So we were reintroduced to our two favorite web slingers, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. And they were at Miles' school as Peter was his new teacher, hilariously enough. But that didn't last long because the Sandman was loose and the duo had to come up with an excuse to leave and deal with Marco. That left us with an incredible opening sequence against Sandman with an epic battle against the giant sand monster. On top of that, to open the whole game, we see a cutscene of a sick Harry Osborn who is giving the symbiote from his father, Norman. But was it a dream? Because Cam seems to think so.
there for a second. My brain
I thought
was
you had
loading.
sugar. What the hell?
And now I'm crashing, kids. No, honestly, having Caboose on the show and hearing Caboose's insight on like how he saw that makes me think that maybe actually that was a dream, because it did feel eerie. It felt odd. It kind of felt out of place for how the cutscenes were going or how they were edited before. So I am on team that was a dream. No, but honestly, this was a really good chapter. But I'm going to hold my thought on that because I think you know what I'm going to say. So I'm not
I don't
gonna
know
say
what
it
you
now.
were going to say.
Okay.
Actually, I do know what you were going to say, but I don't know why you're going to say it now. It's way too early. So yes, please hold your tongue.
I'll
for
hold my
this.
thoughts.
On this episode, we deal with the aftermath of fighting Sandman, trying to find out what Marco meant from his cryptic message to the Spider Pals about maybe Kraven. What's going on with that? And if Peter is still going to have his job after randomly leaving his students in the middle of the day during a crisis. That probably won't end well. But we'll find out. And as always, the first thing we get to before we get to the gameplay is our question of the day. Now, I feel like because we played Miles Morales, we might have done a bunch of questions of the day that we've already answered. So I'm going to go straight up for the real life question. If Sandman attacked our town, okay, wherever we're living, like he did in this game,
Okay.
what the hell would you do as a regular real life person?
I'd probably be really angry and start to clean my house because sand gets everywhere. Like everywhere. Even if it's blowing through the window, like just casually, like say he was attacking the city and I'm in the suburbs, that sand is probably blowing all through my house, even though I'm so far away and getting all in the cracks and everything. I would also make a sandcastle.
So that's under the impression, though, that we know Spider-Man exists, correct?
No, that's just, I mean,
So if Sandman
the
attacked,
world will be ending. If
you
I
wouldn't
see
care.
sand, I would
and
just,
you built a sandcastle.
yeah, I mean, like if I see sand just like appearing out of nowhere, I'd be like, well, this is it. Better have fun. Firstly, my mom taught me always keep a clean house because you never know when an emergency may pop up. So you got to clean out that sand and then, just have fun with it and build a sandcastle.
So as I've played this game, and recently, maybe the last like 2-3 years of watching Marvel movies, I've thought to myself, man, if I was a real person living in this kind of timeline, it would suck. Like, again,
so
one day,
suck.
you let's say, okay, you you spent your life savings finally purchasing in beautiful New York City your own condo, and then all of a sudden a car just crashes through your window. And by the way, you're on the 17th floor. And it's ruined.
It's
What would you
it's ju-
do?
A walkout balcony. That's what you got there, right there. A walkout balcony that's been expanded into your living room. I want to know what the insurance policies would look like. Like when you are lucky enough to get that condo in New York, do you go to your insurance company and say, hey, can I get that coverage for falling cars from the sky or random sand attacks? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know what it looks like. I just know that the tax company, or not the tax companies, the insurance companies would basically rule the world.
Oh, I would
They
be
would
an
have
insurance
so
broker.
much money.
Yeah, I'd probably be like, that'd be the best paying job, being an
In the
insurance
superhero
broker.
division,
Oh, yeah.
1,000%. Yeah.
1,000%. They'd just be writing things off left and right and charging people for everything. But seriously, Nick, because obviously a Sandman attack could happen anytime in real life.
But you'd be fine because you'd be building a sandcastle.
I'd be, hey, you know what? I think Sandman would appreciate that.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think he would see that, and instead of like hurting you, he'd like befriend you.
And I would survive because of that.
Smart. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it to you. You were thinking outside the box, and I
That's
thought it
where
was
I like to
stupid at
live,
first.
outside that box all the time.
All right. After the break, we joined Peter first as we deal with the rest of the sand that is remaining in Brooklyn. I guess it's in Brooklyn. After our epic fight with Sandman, we see how Peter. We already know. he's probably going to lose his job. But maybe he'll keep it because maybe he's able to talk his way out of it with the principal on the first day of his teaching job. And I just want to know if there's more tutorials we're going to get to. I think we are, but let's find out next on AutoSave.
The app is busted. Pete, you seeing this?
Hold on a sec, Miles. I got it. You're gonna be safe. Yeah, same here. Hey, Genki?
I know. The whole city's telecom network is down.
What's happening to the requests that are coming in?
They'll all get queued, but... Wait. I'm gonna try a workaround.
Work fast.
Right before the app went down, I saw a request for help at Liberty and Broadway.
So the Spidey app, basically what they use to help people, for them to contact the Spider-Mans, is down, and because the whole city's telenetwork is as well. So it needs a fix-in. And guess what? We enlist the help of Genki, the man in the chair himself, Miles' best friend, to get it back up and running. So right off the bat, Cam, I think it's cool that Peter knows who Genki is and that Genki knows Peter's identity. Right? He knows Peter's identity, right?
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Because we found out in the last episode, he made that little comment. He's like, and then Peter's like, wait, he knows who I am. So I love as a superhero, because I think we always like to think they're in control because they are our heroes. I like how they could even be surprised by like who knows what, and Genki is that surprise. I also like that they're bringing in this tech from Miles Morales into Spider-Man 2, because this is something that Genki and Miles created to see how he could help everyone in his neighborhood. So I like that the app is back and it's ready to attack.
And I think it's neat to be said that you probably should play Miles Morales if you haven't. Don't just play Spider-Man 1 and then 2. You need to play Miles Morales as well, because there's little insider information that you'll remember. Genki gets us to build a drone out of 3D printers in our web shooters. Well, this is freaking cool. And we get to fly the drone through some circle obstacles to get it back online. And that gets us to our first level up of the game, and we get introduced to our skill tree. So we have individual skills for Peter, for Miles, and then team skills for the both of them. What do you think about that, Ken? Because I think it's pretty cool.
I think that's like setting up that we're going to probably get a lot of opportunities to play like tag team. Similar to what we had with our intro to the game in that the first chapters. I think that's exactly what it's setting us up for. So I was like really, really excited actually to see this. Also because we have I'm just trying to, because like going into this game, I'm trying to understand how they're going to balance the two. Like we talked about this, and I hope it's something where it's like we're really utilizing this skill tree, and it's not like it's going to just be one-sided because I'm going to choose to play as Miles more rather than Peter. I hope it like kind of forces me into playing as the two of them, and then also, seeing those real big moments with both of them.
I think by the end of this series, we definitely have to talk about or tally up the amounts of times we used Miles over Peter or Peter over Miles. Because I'm interested. Already, as I'm going through this, I think I'm going to use Miles a little bit more, but who knows? Because he has the better power, right? We talked about this. He has the better power.
Yeah, I mean, you can electrocute anything. Also, I will say this whole sequence of like seeing the sand in the city, I don't know about you, but that looked really cool to me. Like,
It did.
just how it blankets over and it's not like fully covered. You see like where the wind is blowing through the city, so like the main areas of the streets are kind of semi-cleared, but then you're seeing like, I guess they're tire tracks in the sand. I don't know, I just found that really cool to see.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I didn't even think about that, but that they kept the sand there, right? Like, especially in some sort of video game, it would be gone right after, but it's like...
Or like you leave a certain area and then it's gone.
Yeah, but it's there to stay, which I think is really cool. You're right. Enter in dealing with some criminals, and we get to test out more of the combat and use the upshot gadget. How do you feel about the mechanics fighting everyday street criminals now in this game compared to the other two? It seems similar, but still a lot more crispy.
Yeah, definitely. It's got that crisp. It's crispy. It's very familiar. And yeah, it's just like, it's hard to put your finger on it because there is something that makes it all smoother. Like, I think it's a little faster, but I don't know if that's like how I should be explaining it, because maybe it's just more, it just feels like right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. It does feel right. But whenever there's a new game, it should always feel better, right? If it doesn't, then we have a problem.
Yeah,
which I'm sure.
Like, I'm not getting bored. Like, I'm not getting the vibe that like this is way too familiar to even feel interested to continue exploring these mechanics or seeing new abilities from both of these Spidey pals. Or Spidey pals, is that what you said? I'm gonna use that now. Spidey pals.
I guess Spidey pals, but they are closer, so maybe they're like bros.
No, please don't.
Spider bros?
No. No.
All right, we'll stick with Spider Pals.
Spidey pals, I like that.
Spidey Pals. Speaking of Spidey Pals, actually, we switched to Miles, and who also has to build a drone of his own, fight off some street thugs with his Venom powers. And then after that, Peter says, let's get to a few more requests and then head back to school. We get our first taste of some side missions. We see more Sandman minions and learn that Marco's mind is trapped and scattered all around the city in these crystals, according to MJ. And we have to go around the city and collect them to fight off little sand minions. Question I have to ask you, Cam, is how the hell did his doctors know that? I laughed every time. I had to rewatch it again, that cutscene. I literally pressed restart so I could hear her say the doctors knew that his memories were scattered. What kind of doctors are these? Are these NASA doctors?
Firstly, I feel like being a doctor in this universe, you have to know some sort of bit about science, and like, you know, there's so many encounters with villains and superheroes. You know, I feel like if they were to get someone like Sandman, or imagine getting like, imagine getting someone like Mysterio or Doc Ock, and you're like, oh,
right.
I know how to reattach these little devices, these tentacles, things that you have on your back, but we're just going to electric tape that back together. You got to know some sort of science. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that these doctors did know, because they're not only doctors, they're also partially scientists, given the state of this universe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to believe MJ.
I mean, realistically, though, I would hope my doctors know some science.
Well, yeah, I mean, they would know biology. They would know biology, but they would also have to know the really nerdy physics, tech, science of it all.
They need to have they need to be a jack of all trades in science.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no specializing. You want to be you want to go into being a doctor, so you got to know a lot of biology and also physics. And I'm pretty sure there's probably doctors. Well, do doctors listen to our podcast? But there's probably doctors out there that are like, actually in everyday medicine, you kind of have to know about a little bit about physics and all these little things, because I am not a doctor, so I would not know.
If there are doctors listening, let us know how stupid we are. Just
please
send us a DM. Yeah, we won't tell anybody.
No.
Maybe we'll mention you on the next episode.
Yeah, so we would tell. See, we're so dumb. We said we wouldn't tell anyone, but we're saying we would also mention you on the podcast, meaning that we would tell people.
This is why we have a video game podcast. One more request that Miles needs to complete is to rescue a person from a limo.
Hospital.
J. Jonah Jameson. I gotta tell Spider-Man. All right, Mr. Jameson. Let's get you to the hospital. Spider-Man, you gotta come see who the VIP in the limo was.
I shudder in anticipation. Sealing a hydrant, then I'm on my way.
Mr. Jameson, it's Spider-Man. You with me?
Flying in. On your left.
Hey, Spider-Man. Look who it is.
What? Where am I? Spider-Man!
Jonah, my sunshine. You okay?
Help! I've been abducted!
What? No, I'm helping you, man.
Someone get a photo of this! Mass criminals kidnap beloved newsman!
Some things never change. Just be nice to the doctors.
Oh, they kidnapped me! I did not consent! Oh. Menaces! I'm surrounded by menaces! But J. Jonah Jameson is not going anywhere, you hear me? I'm not going anywhere! Wait, where am I going? Where am I going?
What a nice freaking touch. I was not expecting that, and it made me literally laugh out loud when I saw him.
I love how just Jonah Jameson could be on his deathbed in the most pain, and he just gets a whiff of Spider-Man being in the vicinity, and that will just perk him back up because he'll want to insult Spider-Man and want to just make him look like the villain.
Insomniac has done such a good job at making J. Jonah Jameson like a perfect comedy character. Because we haven't seen much of him. First game, it was just the podcasts. Second game, it was at the beginning with Rhino. Or not second game, Miles Morales, I guess the side game, as we would call it. That first scene where he's, I guess, doing a radio show. And Rhino runs through. And then this one here. And he's just always a dick.
Yeah, he's just the absolute worst. Oh, I cannot. But I do love how like he, like I was just thinking about him swinging, and it's like,
yeah,
what is really going through Jonah Jameson's mind right now? Because it's like,
well, he's hurt, so he needs help.
He's hurt, yeah, but then he's also like infuriated that no one is capturing Spider-Man kidnapping him.
That's what he
to
feels
safety.
like it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of conflicting emotions.
The
with
new
Jonah.
mechanic here, though, Cam,
Yeah.
is the swinging of another character. How do you feel? It feels nice. You can feel on the controller. It's a little heavier, which is cool when you're swinging. But if this is part of the game, I like it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I want to actually. I'm hoping we get more characters that we're gonna be able to swing away and like get these little just little moments for these characters that are big in our hearts as fans, but like maybe smaller in the story element of things. Like just time to shine, you know, in those little moments.
Another hilarious scene right after this is the principal calling Peter to ask where the hell he is, and Peter pretending to break up on the signal. Doesn't know what to say, obviously, but he says, she says, sorry, you better be back in 10 seconds, which even for Spider-Man, I think is going to be a problem. Once we get back, Miles misses talking to a Mr. Samita, who is going to talk to him about his college essay. Genki also mentions that he's getting a full ride scholarship, and Miles does sound like he has a sense of disappointment in his voice. I think he feels
With
like
Genki?
he no, not like jealous,
Oh.
but I feel like he feels like he's missing out.
Yes, I do get that vibe as well. Like it's not a jealousy, but I think, and we caught this at the beginning when Miles is struggling with his essay that he's supposed to use with applications. And, you know, Miles is super smart. And I think if Miles didn't have spider powers, wasn't Spider-Man, he would have probably already got his acceptance to a few universities.
Yeah.
And would have been able to celebrate alongside Genki and have that moment together. You know, when you're getting into university, it's a huge moment. You're talking to your friends about where they're going, if they got their acceptance letters. He's missing out on all of that. All that like excitement and that moment for him. That's a real milestone, I think, in any milestone in anyone's lives, especially Miles. So yeah, I completely understand that. And it's unfortunate because I think he's also struggling. Like we hear him talk about, you know, Genki is surprised that Miles didn't finish his assignment yet.
Yeah.
His essay, and even offers Miles to help him with that. But Miles doesn't want his help, understandably, because Genki helps so much. But I think it's also like Miles putting pressure on him as a student. Like he feels like he should be able to do these things as he did without the responsibility of being Spider-Man.
On the flip side, Peter, of course, he gets fired on his first day on the spot. There's no ifs and ands or buts. However, I did think for a tiny split second that he was going to be able to get his way out of this. But he
I
did
mean,
not.
how?
They fired him right away.
How would he be able to? He literally abandoned kids in danger. Yes, he saved a whole bunch of other people, but no one knows that. That was Spider-Man. This is Peter Parker. People, oh my gosh, I had an epiphany. For people that are around Peter Parker, even though he's the nicest guy, like Peter Parker in personality, probably thinks he could be a real jerk. He runs away maybe when they're in the middle of sentences, doesn't show up when he's supposed to, when he makes plans. He abandons kids while they're in danger and looking for guidance. Oh.
It's a good point to bring up because I don't think he necessarily was that polite to Genki. At the beginning, I don't know if he's kind of like a little short with him. We need to get this online like right away, Genki. It's like, sorry, Peter.
He's focused.
I didn't know he's getting paid for this, which he probably isn't because you're poor too, Peter.
He's focused, okay? Sometimes in, the pressures of trying to save New York, there is no time for courtesy, but there is as a teacher. And Peter Parker,
Yes.
You got to get your act together.
You do. But this is showing, right, in this scene right here, that both of them, in different cases, are struggling to juggle being Spider-Man and being a regular person in society. Miles then calls Peter to let him know that there could be a little, maybe they can make a little money on the side taking pictures for Robbie Robertson's paper or magazine. He doesn't work for the Bugle anymore, which I didn't catch that right away. But he works somewhere else, and they could take pictures across the city, and that actually becomes one of the side missions, the very first side missions around the city. You basically have to take pictures of events going on in the city. You can have fun with this one, and I don't know how far you've gotten so far into taking pictures, but there's been some hilarious ones to start.
Oh, okay. Don't spoil them. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that later, and as we dive into it, because I want to catch up with all the pictures you took.
All right. Well, there's one specific one that I think's hilarious.
Okay, tell me. Okay, tell me. Now you can't just set that up and not tell me.
There's two like naked guys. They have underwear on. Naked guys wearing spider masks.
Oh yeah, the kind of funny dudes.
Okay, so you saw that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Because it is iconic.
Yes.
Blessing Jr. and Greg Miller from Kind of Funny just doing the total best, which is, it's actually a funny story because they were just fans, and they created these, like, they actually cosplayed before this was a thing in the game. Like, this was something that they've done years on years on years of, celebrating being fans of the franchise, and that it made it in the game. So congrats to them. Hats off.
Wow. Well, it's also hilarious. And they dance to techno music. So
yeah. That's the thing I don't... Can they actually dance to techno music in real life? I need to see it.
After that awkward moment, it's Peter off to his house in Astoria, Queens to meet up with his girlfriend, MJ.
Whoa!
Traffic was awful. Tan Man really made a mess.
Seems like you're getting the hang of that thing.
Well, it is convenient in the city, but I'm not convinced I'm a bike person.
You convinced me.
What's wrong?
I got fired.
You were so excited about this job.
I know. I had the whole semester planned out. Next week, we were gonna make a potato-powered helicopter.
I'm so sorry. I might be joining you in the unemployment line.
Jonah already cleaning house?
Sort of. He's instituting a radical meritocracy.
Yikes, what does that even mean?
It means that whoever doesn't write a front page story in the next week is fired.
Oh, well, you'll be fine then, because you're the best reporter they have. What you got in there?
Unsold Simcaria books. Running out of storage at my place.
But you got great reviews.
I sold 14 copies. Nobody wanted to read about Simcaria. The Bugle is the biggest outlet in the city. I can make a difference there. But if I get fired, I don't know what I'll do.
Do you even need the Bugle to do what you want to do?
I tried making an impact from the outside and 14 copies. Now I need to change things from the inside.
So, Motorcycle Mary Jane. Pretty badass, right?
She's so cool. Like, she is so cool.
Cooler than Peter. Like, Peter's a dweeb.
Yes, I agree with that. I had to give it some thought. But once you remove the Spider-Man element of Peter Parker, Mary Jane is definitely the cooler one in the relationship.
Pete tells MJ about being fired from his job, and what a supportive girlfriend.
She is.
Doesn't bat an eye. I had a little quick chuckle on this because she didn't like say, Peter, oh no, or like whatever. She's like, that's all right.
Well, okay, let's really think about this, all right? She knows that Peter is also Spider-Man. So she understands the responsibility that he bears and how that, must really hinder his personal life or his drive to have a career. And that's why I think I was more shocked when she said, like, this was so exciting for you. Like, you were so excited about this. Because her real concern is, like, Peter's losing out, right? It's not that they can't pay that $4,300 something mortgage bill. Which I have thoughts about. But it's more on the fact that, he's missing out. And I think it hurts her to see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, missing out to me is like the least amount of their worries because he lost a job. We see, like you said, the mortgage payments. He's had to take over from Aunt May because Aunt May, to keep Feast afloat, she took up a second mortgage on her house.
Yeah.
Which is sad, and now he's trying to do that, but he can't afford it.
Also, what are their interest rates? Okay, because this was something I.
Is it? Are they
As you
dealing
can
with
tell,
inflation
like,
too right now?
We're adulting hard in real life, Nick and I. So these are things that we think about, and when I see, so it's the total mortgage.
Yeah.
Is the principal $494,000 or $1,000, right? $494,000. Then you have the monthly payments, $4,419.24. What is that interest that they're paying on that? Because that's a lot. That's a lot for a $500,000 mortgage.
Well, it's in Queens as well, right?
But
the interest rate is what? Is it upwards of 8?
Is it higher where you live?
Well, it could also, I don't know.
This is
if we
a
wanna get into
lot.
this.
And then what are the penalties fees? Because like then he has another $300 and $330 in past due fees, interest. So to me, if he missed 1 month of rent, his interest rate's ridiculously high. We
Welcome
thought it
to
was
a
bad
mortgage
right now,
podcast.
but this is crazy. This
Yeah, well, again,
I saw
he's not
this
gonna be
and I
able to
put my
afford it.
controller down. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is
So
what
you had a
scared
panic
me."
attack.
I had a panic attack. The anxiety
Okay.
for
Yeah.
Peter, I feel right now, I can't.
Well, MJ offers to pay or help with the mortgage, which is really nice. But Peter also doesn't want to sell the house because I think he's attached to it. That's clear, I guess. And then also MJ doesn't want to move from her place in Manhattan because she needs to stay in the city working for the Bugle. Again, like, Peter, how are you going to afford anything if your interest rates are through the roof?
Yeah, I think
He's in trouble.
he's in trouble, and I think the only way out of it is to get a roommate. Is Miles and Genki looking for a place to
No,
rent? Like,
they're not even 18 yet.
Does he have a basement apartment that he needs to rent? Maybe Jonah Jameson needs a place in the suburbs away from the city. Like, anyone? Spider Cat?
What's Black Cat doing right now?
Black Cat? Well, no, that could be dangerous. Don't have Black Cat Peter as a roommate. That will be dangerous.
Yeah, that could get a little spicy.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
You're in a relationship.
Okay. Well, maybe who else is there? Who else does he know?
Ooh, I mean, maybe when Marco's out of jail, he may need a place to live.
That's a recipe for disaster. He still kind of threatened them as he was leaving.
But he doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man.
Oh, that's true. What am I talking about?
See,
Yeah, it's just a regular.
You got it.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, over time, though, you'd probably figure it out if you lived with him.
Probably.
Whatever.
Probably.
MJ finds some old photos from Aunt May, and it gets Peter reminiscing as we get a flashback.
Is he a threat or a menace? Our phone lines are open.
Menace. Definitely a big fat menace. Let me tell you something about this so-called superhero. He's neither super nor a hero. So what does that add up to? A fraud? An attention seeker? A bunch of nonsense.
What was that?
What was what?
Peter.
Oh, I thought I heard a rat in the wall.
Hey, what's wrong?
It's nothing. I was just...
When I was your age, I was head of the debate club, captain of the soccer team, and second violin in orchestra. Every year, I wanted a new feather in my cap. But when I tried to add honor roll student on top, I fell apart. Instead of being good at a few things, I wasn't good at anything. So, I scaled back. Balance is a process, not a destination. I'm still working on that. Oh, come on. Come on.
So I wanted to focus on this cutscene specifically because it's about balance. And for me, it's pinging in my brain that is probably a main theme that we're dealing with in this game, because as we're seeing already, Peter is struggling to juggle with too many things in his life. And so I think this flashback is important for us because it's showing him, even in his college days, that he had an overdue assignment, or maybe it was a high school, I'm not entirely sure. But again, this is something that he's been having to deal with his whole life. And he talks about it with Mary Jane, too. He hasn't had time to take a vacation, even though he doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a taxing thing for him. He's already been on the job for, I think, 8 years now, or a little over 8 years as Spider-Man. So, yeah, I think balance is something we're going to see for this entirety of this game, and how both Miles and Peter either overcome it or struggle with it.
Yeah, I think it's like we see balance in, or hopefully this game gives us more balance in, what these two characters are going to be dealing with throughout the game. But also as players, how are we going to balance out playing with these two characters as well? I think it's going to be a theme that's just not in game, but also like how we play the game as well. My thing, I think it is high school, by the way, that this takes place, because Aunt May looks like, she looked great before, but she looks a lot
no
younger,
doubt.
and Peter's appearance is a bit different. The fact that Aunt May just draws eyes on this hole, so cool.
Yeah.
I wish she was my aunt.
So cute. We also got to mention the fact of what Peter looks like in this scene, because he definitely looks like a nerd. He hasn't taken his glasses off either, unless it's like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where he's got to take off his glasses because he has 20/20 vision now. I don't know if that he's just wearing them because he's wearing them. But sorry, go ahead. You have something to say about that.
Well, I think maybe it is like, the whole idea of, you have this superhero idea that you need to have like some sort of mask on, not just being a superhero, but when you are the person that is not the superhero. And for Peter Parker, maybe it was like he looked to the, how we all see not Spider-Man, how we all see Superman, and how Clark Kent puts on the glasses. Maybe this is what he was trying to go for when he first discovered his powers, because we do see on the desk, it's an earlier version of the Spider-Man mask. This is like probably right around where he's exploring his own powers, hence why there's the hole in the wall. So I think it's interesting to just see how he not only looked, but how he would act as well, because he didn't have it together and he was going through this change.
Right. I also like the fact that we're getting more insight into Peter's past.
Yes.
Because I feel like, again, in the first one, we get him at a certain age that we don't really know what he went through earlier. So I hope this is something that we see throughout the game, some flashbacks like this. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah, I do. I want to see more Peter. I think we got Miles' origin story through Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man Miles Morales. And now we are filling in the blanks with Peter.
As MJ leaves the house, though, she screams, and Peter goes running out.
Whoa. Doctors haven't cleared me for MJ hugs yet.
Sorry.
Harry. I missed you.
I missed you too. I heard about May. I'm so sorry.
So how was Europe?
Sorry about all that. I was being treated in isolation here in the city, and I didn't want you guys to worry about me.
Is it the same thing your mom had?
It was. Past tense. We think it's in remission.
Harry, this is... I can't believe it. You look great.
I feel great.
I have to get to work. Dinner tomorrow?
Coney Island? For old time's sake?
It's a date.
That's new.
Yeah, it's a little skill she picked up when we were in Sicaria.
Sorry for coming by unannounced and all.
What? No, are you kidding? You want to come inside?
Actually, I was hoping you might have time to go for a ride with me.
Sure. I'm surprised the frugal flyer is still on the road.
I was thinking we might roll like we used to.
Ooh. Is that my old bike?
I honestly didn't expect to see Harry Osborn so soon, but apparently he's cured and lied to them about being in Europe. So Cam, instant analysis, right away. This scene. Do you trust Harry Osborn?
And that's what I wanted to say off the bat of this episode. But I was like, I'm going to save it.
No.
I do not trust him. You can't just roll in and like be like, hey, good times. And I think like there's goodwill in there. But there's still something a little odd about this that makes me feel like, I don't trust you.
Is the automatic thought that he's Venom?
I think that
because
was like
of the symbiote scene?
I think that was one of my theories going into this.
Yeah.
Because of like how Spider-Man 1 ended and then how we saw the first chapter. I'm hoping they're throwing us in for a curveball because that would be the obvious idea, but sometimes going for the obvious is like something that would also throw us in for a loop. So I don't know, but I don't trust him. So I guess for me, yeah, I think he may be Venom or have the symbiote actually influencing him in some way.
I feel like it's not as simple as that. I think what I thought off of the bat was that, but I feel like Insomniac again is throwing us a red herring. Is that we know from what we've heard before this game came out that Eddie Brock was not Venom. Okay, so who is it? And then we see in that opening cutscene the symbiote go to Harry, and then we see Harry right away. I think the automatic for everyone is like, oh, he's going to be Venom.
Yeah.
There you go. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as that. That's just my initial thought.
I wouldn't be mad if it's going to be as easy as that if maybe that's not the only Venom we see.
Oh.
Like, what if... Yeah, okay.
All right.
I've been theorizing about this game since the end of the last game and into Miles Morales. I have a lot of theories that I won't get into here, but, I mean, it would be really interesting to maybe see the symbiote hit multiple people in this game.
All right. There's your prediction. And you also don't trust Harry. But who cares? Because guess what?
Who cares about what you think, Camille?
No, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant who cares because guess what? We have the best mission of this entire game. A bike riding scene where you get to bike ride as Peter and the music plays and it's lovely and it's refreshing and I liked it. It was something I didn't expect.
I was waiting for something bad to happen. There was just too much happy go feels going on in this scene. I was just like, something traumatic's going to happen right now. Not ready.
Guess what? It doesn't, because Harry wants us to sneak into our old high school and feel nostalgic. And I guess it's time for another flashback, and this time with Harry and Peter in high school when they snuck in to take a thumb drive from Peter's locker. This is a cool little mission where you get to web crawl, hide from a security guard, find your web refill fluid in the photo room, so you kind of get an insight of what Peter's days were like when he was a teenager and how he developed everything. But again, I didn't expect this, just like the bike riding scene. It's a cool little, we're getting, again, origin story Peter a little bit.
It is. And this scene is why I was like, okay, in the Aunt May scene, it's the same age. So, like, I guess he was in high school because he looks exactly the same. But this is really cool because it is early days Spider-Man when Peter's first discovering his powers. So you see him fumbling a bit with it, whereas in Spider-Man 1, he was already so familiar with his powers that we didn't see that fumble. Like, he already got it. We were going into that game really playing as Spider-Man. But here with this, way back throwback as Peter in high school, it's like we're playing as Peter Parker in a really refreshing way. And I'm so happy Insomniac put this in because it's like, it gives like the corny high school, we're going to sneak around and like have fun vibes. And it doesn't feel out of place. It's just real fun. Like how he closes the door and then the handle breaks because it's stuck on his hand. because he's still dealing with his powers and he doesn't know how to put it back, and when he tries to, then his web shooter goes off. Like, he is so clumsy. I love seeing this side of early days Peter.
And good for Insomniac for putting this in terms of like everyone expecting this to be, maybe super chaotic the entire time and enemies here and there, and it's going to be, so much crazier than the first one. But no, it's like, we're telling a story here, and we got to go through this. So I really like that. All right, Cam, let's go through this timeline here as we bump into the past, bash into the present. I don't really know what's happening, but let's try to go through it. So we're in the past, all right? Peter and Harry get to the locker to recover the thumb drive. They're chased off by the security guard. Then we go to present, and they shoot some hoops. They play some basketball. But then it goes to the past again, and Peter and Harry get split up by the cops and the security guard. Peter gets the thumb drive, and Harry distracts them with the PA announcements, which is pretty funny. And we also get some cool scene in the gym trying to hide away from the cops that we have to, use our web sling in. As we're still in the past, Peter and Harry escape from the situation. Norman Osborn shows up in his crazy helicopter and delivers some bad news that Harry's mom has passed away. It's pretty huge.
It is very, very big news, because I wasn't aware, and maybe I missed this over the first game, or maybe what they discussed already. I didn't realize that Harry lost his mom in high school. For some reason in my mind, and I think because I always see it as a Norman and Harry like bond, father-son bond, I just thought he lost his mom like real young. So like it was really eye-opening to see that, because he's old enough to firstly remember her, like have a clear memory of his mom. And then you see how Norman really tried to comfort his son. So you see that bond between the two. But then you see the heartbreak that Peter is feeling for Harry. And I think this is insight to like what their relationship is. Like, you're going through the past, you're going through the present, this conversation, like they're not just friends, they're best friends, and like probably almost brothers. Like if you think about it, for Harry, Peter's probably the only other person that understands what he was going through at that time. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's like they both have an understanding of how death can affect them at a very young age, and I think they probably have a strong bond because of that.
And yeah, we see, like, again, this makes so much sense of why Norman is, again, he's a bad guy, but he's a good father.
Yeah.
And he's always there for Harry. And you can see here she dies at an age where Harry is probably,
most vulnerable, probably.
Yeah, most vulnerable. So you kind of see why he's a little overprotective of his son. That leads us to then the present once again, where they're on the bleachers and Harry offers up a job and Peter is conflicted about the job. So, question. Peter is hesitant to work with Harry, Cam. Would you be as well if you were in his shoes? Because obviously he's hesitant because he knows he just got fired from his other job because he is Spider-Man. So how is he going to be able to hide that from Harry, I guess is what he's thinking.
I guess so. Like he's just kind of like, I never really thought of it that way. Mm-hmm. I just never really thought about his hesitation too much. I think it's just always like, I thought it more like if my friend came back after not seeing them for so long, they were sick, and now this is the first time I'm reconnecting with them, learning that they're okay. To me, it's kind of odd that they're going to offer me a job and have like this pass ready, because he has the pass ready. And that's kind of then, for me, maybe because I'm suspicious of Harry, it's kind of weird. Because it's like, wouldn't you just want to catch up with a friend? And like, I guess you could argue like maybe you heard Peter lost his job or thought Peter may be looking for something that's more up his field. But if that's what got you to go see Peter in the first place, to offer him a job, that just doesn't seem like, I don't know. You're really there to reconnect with your friend.
Interesting. I didn't see it like that at all. I just thought he's rich, so he created this foundation, and then it was like, you want a job, best friend? Here you go.
That's true. I guess I don't understand because he is rich. I'm not. So I'm having a hard time understanding from his point of view of like, I guess it's just easy for Harry to just offer jobs to anyone.
Again, you could be completely right here. I'm just thinking that's what I thought on the flip side.
I forgot he's really wealthy. So he's probably just like, hey, want a job? He probably has the printer for the passes just in his like car or something too.
He probably waited to talk to Peter because he felt bad. That's what I thought. He waited, and then he's like, I'm going to offer a job to, like, you know, I do want to work with him, but this will help, like, our friendship because I lied about going to Europe.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
That's true.
Who knows? Because, again, if you don't trust him, then it's a diabolical plan is what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after a quick cutscene of Craven telling his subordinates to not fail again after losing Sandman, it's back to Miles, who is struggling with his college essay. Peter calls him, and he jumps at the opportunity to help at the raft because, well, he just doesn't want to write this essay. As Miles is leaving, he sees a picture of his dad on the fridge and knows he's putting things off when he talks to his mom, who apparently has another man in her life. Ooh. Do you truly think, Gab, that after this conversation Miles has with his mom, he is truly okay with his mom having another lover?
Absolutely not. I think also that plays into why he might have been a bit weird at the beginning. It's like, yeah, he's seeing his father still on the fridge. He's very aware. Please don't say lover. I'm so weird. Nick?
I wanted to see your reaction when I said it. That's why.
It sat with me, and it settled in there a bit, and I was just like, ugh. So his mom's boyfriend, I think, is better.
Well, are they together? We don't know that for sure.
Okay, the guy that his mom's seeing.
Male acquaintance?
His mom's partner, friend.
Whoa.
I don't. This is getting real awkward. But that person, I think Miles is already aware that that person exists in his mom's life. So I think anytime he's probably home, sees that reminder of his dad, it's also, he must be dealing with like, oh, you know, obviously his dad's not around, but there's also probably this new figure that is around. And it's kind of weird for him to be home, which is why he's jumping to helping Peter. Also because I think he's really dedicated as a Spider-Man.
Yes. I don't agree with the he's avoiding being there. I do think he's not okay with it, but he's just saying he is. But I really think his whole motivation here is he wants to always be Spider-Man. And he doesn't know how to shut that off.
True.
But we'll see. I want to know who this guy is, to be honest.
I know, I want to know. But it seems like his mom is also aware that this is going to be, maybe anticipating that it's uncomfortable for Miles. Because she's like, I could put this off, like, if you're not comfortable. Like, that's fine. And, you know, obviously him being a good son and wants to support his mom, he doesn't want her to feel uncomfortable.
What if her boyfriend was Simon Krieger?
Don't put that out there in the universe.
That's the first thing I thought of.
Don't put that out there in the universe.
He's probably in jail, though, so it's probably not who that is. It's whatever. Next on AutoSave, we head out to the raft to supervise the criminal transfer of someone from both Peter and Miles' past.
Ready for the next one.
Next one? Thought we were just babysitting Scorpion today. Miles. Miles.
It's fine. I'll be okay.
A little early for fireworks. We gotta go.
So it's Lee, aka Mr. Negative, who is also being transferred through this prison along with Scorpion. And Miles is definitely feeling a type of way about it. If you don't remember from the first game, Miles' dad, Jefferson Davis, was killed during the explosion that Lee caused in the first game. Miles, at the time, was still learning about his powers, so Peter dealt with Lee in that first game. So Miles never realistically had any type of closure with Lee, and I think that's what we're seeing now is his frustration is almost bubbling up because, you know, that's the man who killed his father, and he never really got to deal with it himself, and he knows that he has Spider-Man powers now, and he could definitely deal with it in a physical sense, at least.
Yeah, definitely. I think this part was a little surprising to me because at the end of Spider-Man Miles Morales, no spoilers if you didn't play the game, but in just terms of, I guess, a little spoilers, feelings that Miles was going through, he didn't express that he still held that, not like, he's not he doesn't have that thirst for revenge, but he still didn't have that closure. Because, you know, at the end of a game, usually there has to be some sort of conclusion. And for Miles, it was more of a positive one. So I guess through that, I just thought he kind of reconciled the loss of his father. And because I don't know, like, I just feel like, at the end of Spider-Man, like, I just felt like he reconciled that loss of his father, like, even though he was dealing with it. And then going into Spider-Man Miles Morales, like, he didn't express this much anger, you know, with the mere mention of Mr. Negative or like the events, like that kind of seemed like he was past that, although it's really hard, obviously, to get over losing a parent. But I wonder if that's because he was probably kind of like how he's putting off this essay, putting off dealing with those feelings. And this is kind of our glimpse into a reminder that he actually never dealt with those feelings.
Yeah. Even if you think that he dealt with them, or maybe, again, he himself thought he dealt with them. You never know when you're, like, you know, face to face with some of that reality, how you're going to feel afterwards. So I think that maybe be the case. I think maybe he felt some sort of closure with his dad. I know, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but like some letters that he found in that game, you know, that kind of helped him through it. But you see his killer right in front of you. You know, what are you going to do in that situation? But I didn't expect this from Miles to almost that anger coming out of him. I was surprised.
But this is something where I truly believe, like, you know, kind of like a Nexus event, like there is, like, we know with Spider-Man, no matter what iteration of Spider-Man or universe is Spider-Man you're dealing with, there's always like that loss. And that loss is usually Uncle Ben. Right. If you're thinking of Peter Parker and what Uncle Ben says with great responsibility, there's always a loss, though, with every Spider-Man. And for Miles, that was his father. But then there's also that period. And this is why the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and just how they did that origin story, because he was so hurt by you know, with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he was so hurt by, you know, getting pretty much, like, cast aside and the wool pulled over him, essentially, from this wrestler who didn't want to pay him. And then he lets the bad guy go. That bad guy ends up killing Uncle Ben. So then he has so much anger. And that is the point that could create like a really good Spider-Man or potentially have a revenge-driven Spider-Man. And I think getting a glimpse of what that moment could have been like for Miles if he had his powers at the time he saw his dad die in front of him, it was just very interesting to see. And I'm really happy that Insomniac put this in the game.
Yeah. They're showing all types of emotion from everyone. And a lot of vulnerability, like you said before. So I'm excited to see where this goes, this story, because we all know about symbiote Spider-Man, but what's Miles going through in this game, right? He's not just a happy-go-lucky kid, which I'm happy that they're diving into, and it's not just like I'm gonna follow Spider-Man and do whatever he wants. It's his own story as well. At the end of the clip, we hear smoke bombs around the transfer ship that is transferring Scorpion and Lee, and Kraven's henchmen. They show up and they try to take the prisoners, and this is where we get a real cool and badass fight scene with all these henchmen. How did you feel about getting through this one? Because I had a lot of fun with all the new powers, how to fight a Spider-Man. It was just badass.
It was really cool. I mean, there's a lot of story, I feel like, in these chapters. So I was kind of happy at this point, like itching for a fight, and you get it.
After you get rid of that wave of enemies as Peter, they start to launch harpoons at the ship. With the damage, it switches over to Miles, who gets stuck in one of those ships, and he has to rescue everyone that is in. He has to rescue everyone that is inside, and he first hears a guard that is trapped inside Scorpion's cell. So he goes to rescue him. Only problem is it was actually Scorpion in there by himself who was pretending to be the guard, and he manages to hit Miles with his stinger, which causes Miles to start hallucinating. And
it's hallucination.
We're in for a scene.
Yeah, they did this so well, because it's like, you have the bit of green because that's the, I guess, venom or the sting that a Scorpion leaves to cause this hallucination. But then it's like you're kind of also like you're seeing the boat, but then you're also seeing like parts of the boat kind of open up into like these mini scenes. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool because it was really trippy as well, because it was very confusing whether you're upright in the boat or like upside down.
I know.
It was like,
yeah, you had no idea.
They did it so well.
So we see like visions of Miles. I don't know how to properly explain it because I was a little bit confused in this scene too, but it seems like he's being forgotten by his friends and family. Like I know at one point his mom says in one of his hallucinations, because he keeps seeing, his friends, his family, I think his mom says, it's so much better, or Genki says that, it's so much better without Miles here. So I'm trying to piece together of what exactly is worrying him, because we see that he's procrastinating his essay. He wants to be Spider-Man constantly. But then does he have, I guess we saw earlier, Genki, him feeling like he was missing out. Does he feel like his friends and family are going to forget who he is?
I don't think he's afraid that his friends and family are going to forget him. I think he's more afraid that he's just it's FOMO. He's afraid of missing out of these moments, like celebrating Genki's acceptance, into university, like those moments. And I think that's just expressed through his mom saying this. It's kind of reflecting not what he's thinking, but well, actually, you know what? Maybe a little bit of that too, because maybe he does feel like he's a certain burden to his family, because unlike Peter, his family completely knows that, and his friends know that he is Spider-Man. So maybe that stress of like having to worry them, or having to have Genki around and helping him out, or having his mom probably worrying about like his studies, how is he balancing things. I think that it's a bit of both.
I guess I'm just confused. Like if he does think he's missing out on things, then why does he always want to jump at the opportunity to be Spider-Man?
Because with great power comes great responsibility, Nick.
Mic drop. Shut up, Nick. But this scene is really cool. Miles going through hallucination. It feels like you're drowning. I don't know exactly how he swims. But once you manage to get through all of that, Miles stumbles upon something.
Get me out of here! Coward!
Spider-Man. Lee.
What are you waiting for?
Not like this. What the?
Clear.
We got him.
No, Lee! Lee!
So it looks like for a second, Miles was about to let Lee drown, but as he's about to help, something happens with Miles where he gets a different blue lightning surge. It comes out of him. That's when the hunters come down and take Lee. So we don't really know what Miles was going to do in this situation. I think he was going to let Lee drown.
I think he wanted to let Lee drown. I think so.
Yes.
Like, I think, again, trying to balance out the emotions and the responsibility of being, you know, New York superhero. Definitely, he's going through it, you know, right now. He's not just trying to save everyone around. He's going with the emotions that maybe he put off dealing with for a while. And maybe he is trying to think that if Lee was out of the picture, that would bring him some closure.
But that's a way to do it. Like, when you're this young and you let someone die like that, ooh.
I mean, but then it's not like, is it? Like, or is it like, well, I tried. Like, it's just an accident. He's not, you know, like, I think that's the thing. And like, it's the moment of pause, right? Like, it's may not even be like a fully thought out thing that is going through Miles's head. I don't think he actually like is thinking, oh, he's going to drown. I think he's just in a pause of trying to deal with balancing out these emotions that he put off that are bringing on the need for revenge, but then also wanting to be the best Spider-Man he could be, right?
Right. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think Peter would ever do that.
Peter did do it. Tobey Maguire, Peter did.
Well, Insomniac Spider-Man? We don't know. But let's take a pause on all these, you know, serious conversations to just say this new blue Venom power is freaking sick.
That is so cool. I love that. Where like, and that's the thing. He is now, like, how many years is this now? This is a couple of years after,
years, I think,
after the events. So he is still exploring like new powers that may come on with him being Spider-Man, and I think that is probably one of the coolest things.
Well, we get some more crazy scenes here as Miles goes after Lee while Peter goes after Scorpion. But as a player, we stick with Miles here, and we get these incredible cutscenes as the boat is going to crash into the dock. We have to fight off all these hunters. Kraven also shows up to blow up an exhaust that causes even more chaos. We have to save a family on a speeding boat. I don't even know where to begin on all of this, but a lot goes on. There's a lot of slow-mo in this as well. Once Miles ends up clearing all your enemies of Lee's container, guess what? Mr. Negative emerges.
Let him go! Spider-Man, I need your help!
So in an epic scene, Miles had a choice to snatch Lee from the clutches of Kraven or save people who were about to die from an active propeller from the boat. He wants to kill Lee. I think clearly he wants to kill Lee here. But he decides to let him go. What do you think Miles was battling in his head here? I really don't think he wanted to let go of Lee.
I don't think he wanted to kill Lee either. I think it was he didn't want to let go of Lee because he would get away. Like you're losing even more. Like he's dealing with the fact that, Lee's alive and his dad's not alive and trying to figure out if that's fair, right? But then also if Lee gets away, that's definitely not fair because he escaped what justice is in the courts, right? So I think it's more that he didn't want to let Lee get away because that would feel like he completely has not, brought a little bit of closure to his dad's death. I thought this was cool though, because you're seeing this propeller just ripping on this harbor and it's just things are flying, people are sliding.
Yeah.
And, I think for Miles, he's in so much anger and just so much focus on Martin Lee for a few moments there. He forgot his responsibility as Spider-Man. It wasn't something quickly. And I love that they really just drawed this out because it wasn't something where he was just oh, yeah, that's right. I'm back. I'm going to help and swing in and save these people, right? It was something we know he heard Peter multiple times, and he chose to ignore Peter. And it's just we have to remember Miles is still a kid. He doesn't have the maturity of just being a superhero and having to deal with the death of your loved ones, especially when you could have saved them if you've had these powers before, whereas Peter has. So for Peter, I think he's looking at Miles, and we've seen this in multiple scenes throughout this chapter, where he's looking at Miles and seeing the conflict within Miles, and because that's probably conflict he felt when with Aunt May, right? He had a choice there in Spider-Man 1. And he could have potentially helped Aunt May and have her around. So I think he's understanding and trying to give a little distance firstly, he's trying to save everyone else because Miles is distracted, but also trying to give distance to Miles to let him work through these feelings while still looking out for him to making sure that he doesn't go too far. So I think that's cool.
I love how also Lee he yelled at Miles. He's like, "You gonna let me drown?" Buddy, come on. You literally have killed thousands of people. I hate when bad guys do that, where they have this complex where they think that their life needs saving. Anyway, I did want to note here, and maybe this will come to light, but I'm not entirely sure. When Miles says to Lee that you took someone from me, and I don't know if I'm overthinking it here, but Lee's face has almost a remorseful look in it. And I don't know if I'm overthinking this or not, but is there a sense here where maybe Lee maybe he's not a bad guy anymore? maybe he is
absolutely
remorseful.
boo.
You don't think
with
so?
That take. He
What,
is
you don't think
seeing
so?
this whole area just be absolutely chaotic. At no point did he say, "Go save the people. Help them."
Well, he's still chained up.
He could still scream that out to Spider-Man, the Spider Pals. If he was truly good, he would have been like, "Forget about me. Let me drown and go save the guards."
He just hear me out. Here's my theory, okay?
No.
Miles is really upset, okay?
No.
He does want to he wants Lee to be punished. But something is going to happen, okay? Where he realizes that Lee is actually a changed person. That's all I got to say.
I'm sorry.
Okay?
Nope.
Maybe it changes Miles' perspective.
Just because he grew out his hair doesn't mean he's all rainbows and flowers, all right?
Listen, there has been 80 games you played where you didn't trust somebody that ended up being trustworthy. So
No,
give
they
me this
haven't.
one.
We can
Yes,
argue
they-
this for a whole segment. Go through all the characters that I said I didn't trust, and I will still argue how I didn't trust them, and it was the correct way to think.
All right, whatever. I guess I can't have an opinion.
Sorry, Nick.
That's it for this crazy episode. There were some highs, there were some lows. Miles is feeling it. Peter, flashbacks. I don't even know what's going on. This game has it all so far. So after the break, let's try to break it down. Let's talk about some major themes, and also if Miles and Peter have any idea who these hunters are, because clearly they don't, but they're in for it because we know who Craven is. So let's talk about that after the break.
Pete, when I saw Lee inside that ship, my powers, they...
You think his energy got entangled with yours?
I don't know, man. But it feels volatile.
Well, wherever Electric Blue came from, it saved the day back there. Hey. We'll put Lee back where he belongs. Promise. Don't leave me hanging.
Trying to soak over here.
Not on my watch. Come on.
You're too much, man.
Hang in there, Miles.
So I love the relationship between Peter and Miles because I feel like Peter is a great role model for him. He knows that Miles is going through this, and he's kind of imparting some wisdom. However, what I feel Miles is going through is maybe something that Peter has already dealt with in terms of having loved ones die, in a sense of not being out of control, but it's within his control. And now he's in a situation where I think he's struggling with the fact of, like, I could kill Lee or not. Mm-hmm. I know that we've talked about this already at length, but I really feel like he's never been in a position, even with the Tinkerer, where he can cause something to happen in terms of, like, maybe we've seen with Peter, he's let people die in a sense. We haven't seen Miles struggle with that. He doesn't really have to deal with that. And so maybe that's what's going on in his head right now in terms of Lee. He has that control of killing someone or not. And I feel like he's struggling with that rather than just, capturing him. I feel like it's more than that. It's a little deeper than that in his head.
Yeah, you actually bring up a good point, though, with the Tinkerer, because at first when you were saying that, I was like, well, I guess, like, with the Tinkerer, he did have his powers. He was in control. He could have chose not to save his friend, or could have chose to save his friend, but obviously he chose not to save the city. That same sacrifice that Peter has made countless times as Spider-Man. And and Miles was experiencing for the first time in Spider-Man Miles Morales. But I think that's the difference. It's the sacrifice, right? Like there, even though he had his powers, it was more like the realization that sacrifices have to be made. Whereas having his powers, it's like being able to be powerful and seek those moments of justice, however you define that, right? And I think that's what you struggle with, like as a hero, because obviously I am one. It's more like I feel like what they're going through. It's more like, okay, you have all this power, but how do you hold back to allow for what the law says things must, like the law to kind of take over control, even though it may not be what you want to see, like, you know, or even though the villains may come out again. Like how many times have we seen the Sinister Six just get out of jail again and be able to wreak havoc all across New York, right? So it's like these heroes definitely have the power to put an end by that if they wanted to kill off these villains, but that wouldn't be morally right for who they are as people. And I think Miles, you know, with what he's going through with the loss and dealing or being reminded of those emotions that he didn't deal with, he's really trying to understand that. And I props to Insomniac for just giving us that this glimpse into how he's going back and forth. Like this could really be a Miles villain arc here. Ooh. Imagine if he actually does do it at some point.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh my
gosh,
I mean,
if this game does that.
It possibly. Maybe Harry becomes the the good guy, and then Spider-Man is symbiote Spider-Man and Miles is bad guy as well. And that's how it ends. Harry is the new Spider-Man. Boom. So again, lots of great action, lots of great cutscenes. So we're continuing to talk about the human aspect here. We see the main theme of balance. Mm-hmm. And we see what Peter is struggling with in terms of wanting to build a life outside of being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He has his financial issues. He doesn't have time to himself. He can't hold a job. And then with Miles, it's the balance of being Spider-Man and then having to do those tasks, writing your essay for university. They're dealing with balance in a totally different way, which I think is incredibly brilliant because Peter wants to be Spider-Man less, and it looks like Miles wants to be Spider-Man more.
Yeah.
And they're trying to deal with that in their own right. And I think that's just a crazy thing to even like develop in a video game.
Yeah, to show that contrast, to show that dynamic, that even though you're both essentially, it could be argued the same hero, they're both Spider-Man. It's like there's two different feelings depending on where they are in their lives. And I wonder if that's going to change. Like, can it change for Miles, who is younger, to completely say like, hey, no, I don't want to be Spider-Man right now. I'm not ready for it. I want to spend some time with my mom and like with my friends, especially because he lost his father at such a young age and is still trying to cope with that. Right.
Yeah. But I guess like all kids, right? They always want to be an adult, right? Like you're a teenager. I can't wait till I'm 18. So I think that's the whole sense of it is like Peter knows what he's missing out on now, but Miles thinks that he's missing out on being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So although he's like, I'm sad I'm missing out on Genki's scholarship and maybe I'm not doing this and that, he wants to actively exclude himself from that at the same time. So he wants to be Spider-Man too quick. But you gotta learn some lessons along the way. Okay, let's pause on super deep conversations and get to more fun topics here, like swapping characters. We get to use the app to switch between Miles and Peter. How do you like that function?
I think it's so cool. Although I'm playing a lot as Miles.
So way more Miles than Peter.
I think so, yeah. But I do like the dialogues, like, and like, because they have two different personalities, and it's very interesting how they interact with the world of this game. So I do find like when I'm playing as Peter, like the sound bites that you're getting is actually really enjoyable. And I do enjoy Miles as well, but I think like the mechanics of the game and like how you're playing as Spider-Man, I enjoy that more from Miles right now.
Yeah. I got a sense of like I was playing more as Miles as well, and I'd feel bad, and I'd switch back to Peter.
I feel like, oh, Peter,
Yeah,
OG, gotta go
he needs some
back.
love. Yeah. Part of the main mission that we didn't mention was we get to change outfits.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot more options this time around because not only can you swap between outfits, they all have different colors and different looks. This is freaking awesome.
There's too much power here. I cannot even. I'm like, where do I start? There's so many to explore. I want to take cool pictures.
Yeah.
Like, Insomniac, why?
How many times did you change outfits? Because I might have changed every 15 minutes.
Oh no, I wasn't doing that. Like I'm very loyal, Nick, when it comes to my cosmetic choices in game.
All right.
So I usually try to go for, like, this is so boring when I think about it now, what the game, and I think I've mentioned this on autosave, what the game is trying to tell me to like wear, like, so based on the story. And I try to follow that.
Okay.
So if there's like, oh, you picked up this new costume, then I'll switch into that for a while till I pick up another. Then I'll switch into that.
Makes sense. I just make sure that Miles is wearing something that Peter wouldn't wear. So that
makes sense.
There are some outfits that Miles looks like OG Spider-Man. So I try to avoid those outfits. So I normally keep him in like black or maybe white. Mm-hmm. And then I change up the colors with OG Peter.
All right, so you try to keep it close to home.
I do, yes.
All
right. That was a long episode, so I think we're going to pin it at that. There's many things we can also discuss. We see Haley as well in this game. We'll talk about her in the future, some Genki things as well, some more mechanics, but let's end it there. Let's take a deep breath, okay? Because there's a lot more Spider-Man to go. We have barely scratched the surface of this game. Barely. And we're going to do it next time, even more on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar-Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcast, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.